Charles Darwin University acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting and pays respect to all elders, both past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people. Let me talk. Let me introduce you about the agenda for today. We're gonna start with three. We will having three team presentations for today. We start with the data expert, and then the nurse, and we will having a short tea break, and after that we will continue with the presentation of the data girl. And each team will have 15 minutes presentation and 10 minutes Q&A. We are really grateful for Dr. Jacob to be our host for the challenging today, and I'm giving the hand out the session for him today. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge Giselle Hill, who co-developed this challenge with me. So this challenge this year marked a significant turning point in terms of the problem and the novelty of the challenge. So thank you, Giselle, for your expertise. First of all, we want to welcome panel of judges for today. First, we welcome Ewan Perrin, Executive Director, Digital Government Laboratory. We also would like to welcome Patrick, Deputy Chief Parliamentary Counsel, Office of Parliamentary Counsel and E-Government. And we welcome Dr. Giselle Hill, Senior Lecturer in Business Law, CDU Asia Pacific College of Business and Law, Charlestown University. Last but not least, we welcome Liam Ma, Data Analyst with the Outcome Land Progress Aboriginal Corporation. For you to know as well, Liam was the previous winner of Data Science Challenge. Glad to have you back. And I myself, I'm Jakub Sebastian. I'm lecturer at PhD. So thank you, judges, once again for being here. It's a great encouragement to all our students. Yeah. Just a quick overview of the challenge for those who may not be familiar. So this year, we focus on modeling the complexity of Australian domestic violence legislation. So in 2019, it was reported that 1 in 6 Australian women has experienced physical or sexual violence by her current or former partner. So this is from the ABC. Now, domestic violence legislation differs in terms of from one jurisdiction to another. Now, comparing legislation is a monumental task, usually done manually by legal experts. It's now a national movement towards simplifying legislation across the board. So one step towards that is to be able to analyze the complexity of it. So the mission for the participants today is to measure the complexity of domestic violence legislation in Australia. They must propose, model, and demonstrate a scalable data science solution that automates this process. Solution should enable the comparisons of legislation complexity between states and territories, and also be scalable to larger or different legislation all throughout the future. Welcome to those who just joined us. Please take your seats. Good to see more people. So I will not go through these steps, but in short, the participants need to attempt 9 different tasks with different levels of complexity, starting from easy, medium, hard, and harder. They are not supposed to jump between tasks. So if, let's say, they like to accomplish task 9, that means they have to complete all the previous tasks. Okay? So the easy task will focus on the leg and structural elements of legislation. The medium task will focus on extracting the mandate frequency of the legislation. And the hard task will measure the readability of legislation. And finally, the harder task is to model the cross-referencing patterns. What makes this interesting is that this data comes in semi-structured formats. So the solution, the participants need to be able to scrape data from legislation documents, which is not an easy task. And finally, The scope of the challenge includes legislations in the SCP, New South Wales, Northern Territory, Queensland, and Victoria. So we have excluded some countries. So without further ado, I'd like to pass this hand over to Tracy to welcome each of the team. So once again, we want to thank all participants today. Without you, this will not happen. Thank you so much.
Firstly, we welcome team data expert Tom Hao, Wu Wen Sang, and Jun Zhu. Yes, Tom.
This is our privilege to have you here. And thank you very much for Yaku and IDCO Fair to give us this opportunity to present our idea. So, and also good morning, everyone, each of us. Yeah. So, Bowen, as mentioned, Bowen and members. And today we'll introduce the automated scalable solution for measuring legislation complexity. And here is our overview of our presentation today. And first, introduction, it briefly shows our understanding of the problem and how the problem is solved. So basically, due to the difficult structures and the approaches of each legislation, so it's hard to compare legislation manually. So we provide this automatic scalable solution. And most importantly, it is very scalable to large or different legislation in the future. So how this solution is, I'll just introduce you next. So this solution basically has 3 steps. So as you can see, basically, we scrape HTML pages to obtain the data, and then we store the data in the databases we built. And lastly, we just query the databases to get the results for our comparison comparative analysis. So some detail of each step. So step 1 is automatically scrape HTML pages to obtain data. So as you can see in this video, you can see the different URL are keeping changing, which means they are automatically to scraping the data of each page. So also you can see we using a multiple processing rather than single processing. So which means we automatically to get in all the data of 5 windows at the same time. Because you can see we have 5 windows, so we can do it all the data at the same time. So why it is important? Let me tell you, just because multiple processing, it can improve our efficiency. I think that's very important for us because especially for large corporate in the future. So therefore, you see our solution is very automatic and scalable. And also step 2, we build a database to store the data. So as you can see, we got the data from step 1, and later on, we move all the punctuations before storing this data in our databases. So in the text databases, we store all the text data in these databases. And this structure just shows how our text data are stored by each legislations 1.5. And also, for example, we're using a Northern Territory as an example. So all the text data are stored by section, subdivision, and division part, and so on. And since the subsection is our foundation unit, so in this element, it contains all the section words, and number of words, and number of sentence. So likewise, all the internal and external cross-reference are stored in reference database by section of different legislation. So you may ask me, why it is important to use So, or because it is very efficient and very stable to get that. Because when we scrape the data from the website, we realize the bad connections and also the high loading of accessing the website always stop us to access to the website. So therefore, we're using building the database to solve this problem. So we don't have to access the website frequently. We just need to query the data to get our result very fast. So that's the reason why our solution is very automatic and scalable. And I'll introduce the step 3, how we query database to get the result. So, for example, if we want to know all the council section in Northern Territory, so by querying the text databases, because the word count belongs to text database, we found its location here. So we just list all the word count section in Northern Territory. So that's basically our solution. So that's my team member, Bamboo and Yvonne will introduce our result by using this solution.
Thank you, Tom. Now I will talk about the third section. In this section, we visualize the non-task and compare the legislation complexity from 4 perspectives. Here, we will explain each task in detail. Task 1 is word count of legislative text. Actually, this task cannot be done without doing task 2 because section is the smallest unit for word counting. After we know the word counts of each section, we add up all the word counts of section and the word counts of table of provisions in the front page. Then we get the overall legislative text. From this picture, you can see Victoria has the longest legislative text. So from this perspective, we can say Victoria has the most complex legislation, while ACT has the least complex legislation. Task 2 is word count of each structure element. For this task, the difficult thing is different jurisdictions usually have different legislative structure. So we need to create different database structure to fit this. Then we just add up the word count of each section according to the database structure, as Tom mentioned earlier. Then we get the word counts of each subdivision, division, part, and chapter. Here, we just make example of NT chapter 1. As you can see this full picture, this is word counts of each section. There are 15 sections together. And this is word count of subdivisions. For this one, subdivision 3 is made up by section 13 and section 14. This is 107 plus 58, so it's 165. This is same way. So task 3 is to get the number of sections, subsections. Section is overviews, as you can see in the front page. 99, 99A, there's 2 different sections. We need to add up all the sections. And the subsections we define as after we go in each section. For example, section 76, we will see the number with brackets. So there are 5 subsections together. From this perspective, we can say Victoria and Queensland has the most number of sections and subsections. So we can, from this perspective, we can say Victoria and Queensland has the most complex legislation, while ACT has the least number of sections and subsections. So we say the least complex one. Task 4 is to get the year of the legislation enactment. We can see from the title, the earliest year is is 2007, NT and New South Wales. The latest year is ACT 2016. Task 5, the total also. Task 5, the total amendment times, you can see from here. And the effect amendment year and amendment numbers. This is the year, this is the numbers. For example, NT, there are total amendment times is 16. And this is the year, and for example, in 2016, there are 2 times of amendment. So from this perspective, we can say Victoria has the most complex amendment friction because the total amendment times is 44 and has more complex amendment, and the amendment friction is more complex. And the New South Wales and Queensland is the least complex. Now Bowen will introduce the next part.
Thanks, Andrew. So I continue with the task 6. So the task 6 is about compare the readabilities of the data. So it's about the content complexities. So we use the formula is a algorithm called Rash Readable score to get the formula. So all the variables is already existing in our database. It's called variables that sum it up from this formula and get this result. From the result, you can see that the NT got the highest mark. This means the NT, the distribution is readable, it's not easy to read. And the New South Wales has the lowest one. And then according to this algorithm, when a score between the 50 and 40, it means this go into at least the quality level as the education can fully understand.
Then especially at 5 moments.
And that's why we up to task 7 and 8 is compare the internal and external references. So from here, we can easily find that the Victoria has a very huge numbers of variance. That means the Victoria are very comprehensive reference. And NT totally have the lowest number. And for the next one is a very interesting way try to find out the cross-reference interesting things. So we build another database. It's the Python and Node.js. So it's a graph database. So I'm going to show you the database. So here is the database. So from here, we can see all the structures here. This is the overall structure. So we can see that the section 2 is mostly complex structures. It's a multiple part and the divisions. And for the section, for other sections, they may not adapt that structure. So that means if you want to change the bit and this maybe we start from the top 2. And we can also see from the section level, this is all the reference, how we call this reference to each other. So that this one, the section 4, that's mostly the reference list. And for the section 190, this has been referenced for multiple times. So these are very good points to start to modify those goals. This is for NT, for example. And then we back to all slides. So here is our conclusions. We analyze those complexities from the 4 dimensions. Those 4 dimensions will give a highest mark and the lowest mark. So we can see that the Victoria maybe have in this case maybe have the most comprehensive ones, and the NT maybe the less comprehensive. And this solution is very capable to multiple websites to large or different logic solutions. We can do that with the very similar solutions. And here finally it comes to our link control groups. So there's some limitations, like there are some errors in our internal pages. So we have to find a way to avoid those errors. For example, for Victoria's, there are lots of errors in Victoria's, especially for the reference. So we need to counter those errors. And the second is from the different websites, have different structures, different standards. So even from the same website, the same law, they have different standards. If they have different standards, we have different solutions, so it's different strategy to get the content. That's maybe make the capabilities much lower. And also, we have made an example of how we can calculate the complexities with scores. For now, it's just an example, which make this for angle equally, but in future, we can use some reference, maybe we can come to experts to balance those bits, get a better result. take care of this for
I have a question about task number 5. Is here the count frequency of this thing. So you just counted the number of amending bills or amending act. But the act could be very large or very small. So, for example, Victoria might have had 3 amendments in 1 year, and we had 1. But the size of the amendment itself could have been a 15-page amendment or a 1-page amendment. So the frequency and the number doesn't necessarily demonstrate how complicated the amendments themselves were.
So the first thing is, yes, this is about task contents, just let us not here. So when otherwise, so if you want to get those contents, how many pages or how large is management, this information should be on the website. Because for some states, they only give the year, they don't have any content. And also those contents is in different pages. So yeah, if there is a further requirements, then we can talk about find a better solution. Yeah, it was done. So I can't speak a few of the information should be on the website.
I thought that was a wonderful presentation, well done. And this question from Patrick, that was from the deputy chair of the parliamentary council. We understand that the scope of his knowledge about the changes, because he's working with the amending legislation every day, and that's why I think when Jakob and I were developing the challenge, we just gave you just a rate of amendment.
Yeah, that's a good question. Also, we also want to get more requirements of the medicine.
So now we can think about this in more depth. What surprised you the most from all this comparison? What was something that you did not expect to see?
The thing is that the errors in the website, having a website, because there is some very serious errors. For example, the Victoria ones. So from here, you easily see this is an actual reference. So those two links should be referenced to that's what this is description. But when you open it, you want to find the active action in counter order. But you open this, it's still in the same form. It didn't transform to the export. And every foreign link is the same. So it's really hard for reader to read to the reference. So all the foreign actual reference didn't translate the outside legislations. And also when they
It's not official version, but it's really bad.
yeah, and also from all the website when they modify it, they use the different styles. Like for example, for this one, like for query sections, the first 100 sections, they use this styles. Use sections, S, double sections, but for others, use sections. Two, 3 different styles. Sometimes they use double S, sometimes capital S. This makes the collect data very, very difficult.
Oh, but you're using Lots Victorian official website.
Yeah. It was hosted, it's not official.
Yeah.
It's hosted.
It's also not.
Also, we are using hosted, yeah.
The Victoria, of course, has its own official website, which might be different.
Hosted.
Maybe jobs.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
told you it's hosted.
But that's
So that those problems can be really, it's making the task more challenging. It's
Patrick, I'm sorry, I have a question for the fellow judge.
Question one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. This is great presentation, very confident. I think you actually got very structured to go through it all very well. What I'm interested in is the real life applicability. So I think you mentioned earlier on that Victoria really have the most complexity because they have the largest sections, the most centres and so on. But in New South Wales, availability score is the most difficult place to be. When you join them together, can you give analysts all that information together to come up with an overall difficulty score?
Yes, this is about future works. Also, we are not expert about the course. We don't know which language dimension are more important.
Yeah.
We need to find this way. We already put together the scope information for the anti-gun works and use also I believe might this is here. So we also need to figure out how we this story is. And also how long is it, how that section and story is there, but we know how we do it. So we need to reference the experts to discuss about how we want to win this variables.
There will be more research.
Yes.
On this is just what we do.
It's new. It means that to provoke the other questions. I'm very impressed with results and also glad to hear that our legislation with the rights is to work is I'll take that back to the office.
The legal counsel will know to talk.
Yeah. I have two questions. One is how did you get it done? So you are using WebDriver.
Yeah, we use two formulas. For the first one is WebDriver, which is then show open the browser. The browser is translate. Otherwise, we use the accessibility libraries called UIOD. Yes, it's one much easier, but sometimes like a website or blog, web craft. So we need some tricks like add headings and some more information in headings to get inside their content. So first we use this formula to get each account files, and then we use the virtual script to structure, get the text out of the page and put it in the documents.
Okay, makes sense. Another question is go back to the slides. I didn't graph. This what is the means for the accuracy? In this case, it's 100%.
Yeah.
But the previous one is 99%.
This one consider a small number, small amount of elements we can check whether one. Yeah. So because as mentioned, there be some errors, some different structures, which means the one strategy to get all done and gather all the information. If there are some errors in the website, the data can be messed up.
Explain more about your errors, for example, which are
Yes, like I mentioned before, sometimes I fix the rules to get maybe all the tabs which class from class one, but suddenly they forget to put some content, forget to put class one tab. So I will miss that. I'll miss the content because it is relative. But I cannot just add a one string just for their very small mistakes. So, but this data we just check whether one content is that correct. For the sections, we just take some samples and count the numbers that match the result. And the majority of them is correct. So unless there are some errors in the website. Yeah, like this one is very different. That we have two links, but they are actually one reference. So that's all these we need to consider about. If we found this mistake, we found a way to counter this. But if there's some mistakes we cannot manually find, there's still some effect that occurs.
or the role of people in this situation.
Yeah, that's tough to do. I think helps.
Thank you very much.
Was a great presentation. I'm very impressed by the results that you presented today. Next one, we will welcome on stage the presentation of Team Nerd. And unfortunately, only today, only Jiangru can be presentation for representing for the team to be presented today. Yeah, welcome to stage. Yeah.
This I wanted to hear. Just having to say.
So what is created.
Okay, it's another thing. And it's such a good.
Hello everyone. My name is Yi Kang. So, unfortunately, I'm going to, there's only me going to be, present our work for today. I'll tell you about that story, first. So this morning, 7:30 in the morning, my, teammate just texted me that, our code, on his side, it crashed. So while he was, developing some, data visualization, doing some plots, so we lost our, most updated version of code. So from my version, it's the old version, and in this version of code, we completed first 3 tasks, and also the second task is with a little bit errors. But since like me and my teammate, we are not from coding background, and it took our we have like 0 data scraping skills like from the beginning, so we learned everything like from scratch. So I think we put effort in this activity, this challenge. So even though that's what we go for now, I'll just present things like I think every effort like counts. So yeah, so let's start. So I think there's a connection error, so I'll just use this one. So okay. So why we're doing this topic? So first of all, according to the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare, so the year 2022, 1 in 6 women across Australia experience physical or sexual violence by a current or previous partner since the age of 15. And also, since there are different states and territories in Australia, and there's no uniform legislative definition of domestic and family violence across the jurisdiction due to the different recommendations in different states. So the legislations will be very complex, and they have very specific ones, but they could vary in different states. So and also since Australia is a very multicultural country, there are people from different cultural background, there are people from like different education levels, and there are people from different age groups, and this domestic violence can happen in any background group of people and any age group of people. So it is very meaningful and important for us to develop a modern data science technology to look into all the different legislation to compare, to say to compare each state's legislation, so we can make some like further improvement in this area. So first of all, to access the data, we've used the WebDriver from Python to scrap the data, and we scrap data into the TXT files. So in the first step of the data scraping, it's very challenging. Like it took me and my teammates like nearly the whole week to figure out the correct method to get the data from the website. First thing, we try to use the get URL function from the Python library, but this method is only valid for some straightforward website. Like for example, Wikipedia. There's open to public. You can just use the data from Wikipedia for your study and for your general knowledge stuff. So there's no limitation in the website. So the website owners like to you can scrap the data like in your favorite way. But for this source data, there's a maybe the owner, they don't want people to like scrap data for bad use. So they did some preventions in their post to prevent people to scrap the data. So we tried to use the Beautiful Soup, which is another library in Python, but it didn't work in this case as well. And we've been stuck on this problem for like 2-3 days. We've been looking into YouTube videos. Since this topic, all the methods and all the coding skills, they are extracurricular. We haven't learned this in any subjects during my degree. So we've been looking for all the resources in YouTube, in Google, and all the other the academic papers we check, and other forums. We check all the codes similar codes to say how other people they are dealing with the same kind of situation. Okay, so we tried the Beautiful Soup, but since the Beautiful Soup didn't work in this case because they would require you to so the website, there's a prevention in the website from the address of website, they want you to be real human to access the website. But in our method in the Beautiful Soup library, we do not have the adapter in our method to convince the website owner we are real human. So we've been blocked anyway. So finally we came up with using the Google the WebDriver. So we open the data correctly. So there are 5 sources of data. So we've been downloaded them into the TXT files. So there's another tricky part in the legislations. So speak of the ACP, for example, there are different parts for sure, and there are different divisions in each part, and there are also different small subdivisions in each division. So the method for the first task we've been using is we've been getting the X part of HTML, which is the address of the body text, and we are trying to click into each small subsections, so we can get access to the data inside. And we've been counting all the numbers, all the word numbers inside each subsection, and we can finally add it up. So back to the code. So this method is only valid for our task 1. So now we have like different word counting for the whole legislation across the states. From this stage, I can only conclude that the Victoria has the longest legislation words, and also the Northern Territory in this case, the New South Wales in this case has the shortest legislation of text words. It's only the number of words inside the legislation. It doesn't really include the complexity of legislation. So we definitely need to do some further improvements on the method we're using. So for task 2, due to the code is crashed this morning, so this is only the old version. So the part 2 in this case is the result is incorrect. The things went wrong is that in the part 2 of our method, it only on the number from different sections in the first page, so it didn't click into the subsections in the area parts. So we've been looking for method to keep clicking those sublinks and go inside to grab the words and put it and keep counting to put it to different parts and divisions. But due to we have zero background knowledge, we didn't manage to get the correct code for this part. So there's only the first page where we count for different parts. Speaking of looking for the correct method, correct coding on the correct codes from the website, it can be just like looking for a little stone from the ocean. Like even though you have been specified what exactly you want, the Google and the YouTube, the research bar, you type in, it just bounce back with tons of the websites related, and you need to look into each of them to check if the code works in your situation, and also you need to make the codes from the online resources to adapt to your situation as well. So from so yes, I'll just since this part is incorrect, I'll just jump to the task 3 we have done. So yeah, so task 3 is on the parts and division subdivisions. So to count the parts and division subdivisions, we've been since in this page, for example, from SAP page, the different parts, there are the headings, and for the different division, there are headings, and for subdivision, they got the heading. The method we've been using, there's another library inside headings called NLTK. So basically, it processing with the words with the words processing in the document. This library is very intelligent. It can do AI things like to predict the meaning of the very long legislation, and it can do it can give you the high frequency words like they found in the text. So in this section, we've been looking for the special words. For example, if we want to count how many parts are there in one legislation, which specify, which split the whole text, and then we'll just use the keywords as part, and then the algorithm just keep looking for parts. Since like the inside the legislation, the part is in capital ratings. So we put the capital letters here, so it exactly matches the thing we're trying to look for. So same for the chapter and divisions for each state. So there's one thing is interesting, we found that the Northern Territory has a chapter in the legislation which other states do not have. So basically, the chapter in the Northern Territory is the biggest subsection inside the whole legislation, and then it turns into the part division, subdivisions, and then each section in different subsections. So we found there's like the Victoria has the longest divisions, but it is interesting we found that Victoria has no subdivisions. Maybe it's because we did something wrong in the code, but it's gives this result. But also, like I said, from this task, we still cannot conclude the complexity of the legislation of different states. So, in conclusion, maybe it seems we didn't quite get the correct things for each tasks, and maybe for some people they think this work is useless. But I would say we being start from scratch to learn the data scraping, to take a look into the legislation parts and the construction of each state of the legislation. It just gives it just brings us to another area we might need to take looks in the future. And also the past 3 weeks it was suffering to do the debug, to learn the new techniques, the libraries in the Python. With me and my teammates, we've been work like the whole day in the library from morning to the 12 a.m. From the next day, and we only got 3 tasks. But well, like I've said, like each effort counts. Like we did all the bad things we can do, and we've also like learned like real things from this area. So yeah, that's all. Yeah, it's really a big challenge. Like every time you solve one challenge and the new challenges come like right next. Yeah.
This is the best place to practice that.
Yeah, to practice the skills and data science.
So aside from all of the challenges, can you tell me what was the most enjoyable part of the process?
All right. So the most enjoyable part, I would say, it's every time when you solve one coding box and you feel like the whole world is yours, and then the most suffering part is while you felt the whole world is yours, and then the next box comes through. You just solve everything you just gained, and it's just repeating like recursive function. And also another enjoyable part is to have a look in this topic like domestic violence. The domestic violence is a big topic. It happens in every single country in the world, no matter it's a first nation country or third nation country, no matter what country it is. Yes, so I think we need to look into this topic to give more people's like attention to the things that are happening around families around us. To find like solutions we can prevent this from happening, to make improvement in our legislation. So that's another enjoyable part of this challenge.
I'm curious, did you have an opportunity to read legislation directly? I mean, your tasks were to create a mechanized process to get the data, analyze it. Did you actually have an opportunity to read it?
Yes. So before with our hand to the process the data, me and my teammate we just look into every single resources from the from the Chinese website, and we click into the subsections as well. So we found that you really need to be an legislation expert to understand each single sentence is talked about, since there's nothing is easy and straightforward. So it takes some time for people from non-legislation or non-legal background to understand the text. So maybe in the future design this project, we can design something to let normal people to get more like easy steps to understand what is the legislation talking about. So that's it. Thank you so much. Yeah.
think, try to thinking of graph like this page, the document page, you can just open link, and there's a button which is for the download. And you can, I think you can download from So open any legislation. Yeah, there's a button. So download. That's what happened.
Like this one, no.
Yeah, download.
Okay, so I think our group just went to like that end. So we've been trying to solve the data scraping problem from Python. So we've been stuck into this. But like this is great another great option for you to download the data. But when we think about this, like for example, if there's like 100 or 1,000 data source, we can like download like each one by one. But like same thing, we can spread the loop to download, or we can use another loop to do the HTML file. Since HTML file is the language is not it's another new language for me and my teammates aside from Python.
Yeah.
So we try to inspect the page, and there's like the whole HTML code right here, and we do not understand a single line at the start. So we learn the HTML from scratch as well.
This point of view of the attitude. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Presentation. I believe that all of us will learn a lot from the experience, from the sharing, and from the speech. Yeah, let's have break. We're gonna have a break for 15 minutes, and there are food and drink over that side, and we will start. We will come back in 15 minutes. Thank you.
data from the website and all of this. We also use some metric to measure the complexity of those legislation. And the main objective of the work is trying to comparing, using the metric to comparing the complex of the legislation across the state. So for the metric, according to the research group, we had 13 metrics, but we only choose 6 based on the challenges that apply. So first one, we would like to count the total word count for legislation. And after that, we would like to count the word follow the structure element, like how many words in text part, in section and subsection. And also, we would like to see like the cross reference. Like in the cross reference, we have the internal reference and external reference. We want to count how many times each law have the reference, internal reference, and also external reference. We also would like to see the duplication and redundancy. Like in each law, is there any duplicate reference and is it make it more complex for the people to read? The language as well. So as we do the flash reading score, we want to measure the readability of the law to see is it easier for the people to read based on the population. And the last one, we would like to see legislative change, which is how many times the law amend and per years and how many years they do changing. And about the pre-methodology, I would like to introduce Richard, our senior university designer.
Oh, sure. Okay. So for the two, as Rosie mentioned, we between Python and main uses Selenium to describe the website. And how we present before we open on the website, we're trying to select the web page HTML tag to select which tab to save the data in the web page. And as it's website, what we do is we draw a graph like this. We pick out what tab option we have and where each element is living. For example, for the first stage, we have the no element here. It's a local and the chart element part. And text is no part, and those are the and in each text of the class, we have the title of the law and the section else and also the section. On this page, start with the B tab, those will be the A tab. And here will be the text is not there. That's actually one of the challenges cases when we can set it correctly. Is the part is no text. And another challenge is one for like space that is causing or becoming as a word we said as well. So we can bring up this part for those. Next, methodology will come through my implementation. Next, so more basic approach is step one, we categorize everything in our list after we're describing. Then we all on the all section and saving to the list, and then we read out the page of the content on section page, and we also categorizing each list. And we just calculate the matrix based on the subtractions of some of the list. So ideally, if that's the case, this first line will be in the chapter list, the second line will be in the class list, and those will be in section title list. And for the first part, we can just select this and this list added together for the words, and we can have the words for part matrix. And for the other total words, we can just add everything together, list together. We can get our total words per state. But because there was the challenging one that we couldn't really get the slide, so we had to do a different approach for this.
Hi, Chan. First one is the recount is there's no in some text or so before that we are trying to spend funds to get the text. Although we try to find the parent element to identify the parent element. However, we said that the layout of each element is parallel, which means they don't have a parent relationship. Moreover, we also found that it's non-differential trace at the end of the text body. So in this case, we can see that extracting all the text body we take back is not a good idea. So our solution is to get the initial keywords and then that's the text body as from a reader perspective. For example, in the text of both counters subdivisions, firstly, we just inject all subdivisions the both text, and we count how many subdivisions in each division. And we set up the stubber, and in this case, we can make a new slice the text body into although we found in people when we index the nutrition revival of the institute the district style is different in other states. This number follows with the top number. So it's big challenge for us to index the nutrition. Next challenge is the outcome statement avoid error. The most challenges between among three states have annual also have to use the statement petition to extract the amendment fixes. The last challenge is about the cost referencing. The cost referencing is divided internal and external. They both have the class name of finance, or in case if people ask if this cost referencing. However, we found one cost referencing neither internal nor external, and we will explain it in the finding part, right? And we pass to use.
Yeah, so here's what we draw. We basically copy out our line cuts, but we want to copy out the line size. So, what's the height? So, we just pick up some important glitches to prevent the result of your analysis. So as you can see, we have quite different examples. One, but as you can see, the Queensland has most words. The Victoria has the most number of sections. And also as well as the internal cost reference. Although the Victoria total work is not that high. So does that mean make the Victoria more complex than the Queensland, or should we count it as just like it was? That actually, when we going on the research, we found out our knowledge about law and a lot of places are limited to get more qualified concepts and how we can troubleshoot it. And also, like, if we have more amended more, way more than other states, we almost 300 per year. So there was only I mentioned for the one which I mentioned, also the law volume is also quite important. Actually, we bring more different people. But for the FREs, as for the NG, is the easiest to read. The highest score is the easy to read. Of it's not actually it's more, it's still 200. still is has score to me and how this how this score is counted is basically it's with elements and counted including total sentence and total words and total syllabus. So if you have the total word volume is total syllabus divided to the words, that means if you have a simpler word, shorter words, or you have like sentences, less words, the score will be higher. That's the idea for this, so it's going to be more visible.
The Greek plan has very low score of all those, maybe because we have too many words
And the sentence, that's why it's more difficult for you to see. But on the other hand, the people who have like the second highest score, but there's so many difference for a lawyer to jump from one page to another. There is less complexity. And another one for us, I'm not sure it's a cross reference, but there's some new area section we click on it, so exactly same to it on this page. We're not enough this URL on this description. So yeah, that's the thing of the point. In conclusion, we're able to build a Python function to secure the challenge purpose. And we're able to identify more complex visualization more mentioned and because you have the more than double amount of work than later on today. The future work is that data was created from the work after origin part of those because as mentioned before, we use a function to identify the index and from the work origin, but basically have to customize the scalar. It's not very automatic there, and our data was founded. And another is like as mentioned earlier, they put up certain metrics to measure the complexity. If you can explain the code to view all the calculation for all metrics. So it's going to be more comprehensive understanding of the scalar complexity. And we also think about it before to certain units. But was choosing about score system to give a final score for which one is more complete. And also, present all the done table, maybe we can just import some visualization, something to present the specific down directly from Python to visualize people. That's something to work with more to work on. And sorry, before we jump into the content, actually we got to class of president. Like part 10, the next part 22. That means there's actually part 11, part 21 more, but it's down. Well, why this part is not this? Continue.
Time for Q&A.
Yes.
And also, we can find that endnotes in our two other screens. But the group once again out the loud change. But there's no endnotes in the website where you want the loud change and look around the website question. The last one is like we click on the total work count for part per chapter for reading all those, but and then we can help on the complexity of the law because so one part has 200 words in front. But the total words is also different. So just through this challenge, we just found out we have very basic knowledge of the law and understand the class request requirement to make this more solution for the client. So yeah.
And one more thing, when we use the method to try to figure out which one is more complex, isn't it like not 100% because when you check the part name, because each part has different name, like represent the different law, part of the law, the law. So it a bit like like not really correct to, using the total word to mention that this one is more complex. And also we mentioned about the metrics, because the formula to calculate the metrics is based on the sentence. That sometimes that part is mentioned about the law that it could be explained a bit longer. So to make it easier to read, it actually easy to read or not more complex, but because it's based on the nature of the law, we cannot just based on, the total work, to just that it's going more complex. So that's why we also want to, maybe spend more time to really understand about, the way that, we write the law to ensure that our solution is met, with the requirement that we would like to. Thank you.
I'd have to address the question. First one, it could be that, I know that the NT puts endnotes with all of the amendments. Other jurisdictions might present it in a different way on their own website. I know that some jurisdictions give you an ability to go back in time and show the statute as it existed at various points in time. So they may use that as an alternative. We only have the act as it is. All the amendments listed. You can find each amendment separate part of the database. It could be that those jurisdictions that don't have endnotes have a different way of presenting that information on their own website. It doesn't translate when the bill is, when the act is taken. If you want, you can go to those states that have no endnotes and to see perhaps for yourself how they present it on them. The thing about complexity, the Northern Territory has a style which is to have lots of heading subdivisions. Chapters are rare. There was a style around that time in noughties where they thought they would have lots and lots of subdivisions. So chapter are division, subdivision. The idea being that when you look at the table of contents, you'll be able to see sort of how the whole thing is laid out reasonably. Chapters are not used really anymore, just part of the style.
Yeah, I said military.
But the theory was that the more it's broken up into divisions and subdivisions, the easier it is to understand. I'm not sure that's true. Sometimes if you break pieces of legislation up into too many small pieces, you don't get the overall picture. But that is a style thing that's done here. It's not done in Victoria. I would think that total length of law would be a pretty good indication of complexity, not the number of divisions, subdivisions. That might actually show it's less complex because it might be easier to understand. But if the thing is twice as long, then for sure there's going to be like twice as many divisions. So I think automatically would be. And I congratulate you on asking us, the representative, drafting community, those kinds of questions, because it's very interesting for me to see someone totally different discipline analyze our work from a point of view that we don't often do. I mean, an experienced drafter can look at a statute. Yeah, that's complex. Just because you can see it just the way as if you read code, you can see, oh yeah, that they haven't done it simply. They've got all these kinds of back and forth.
That's interesting when we each stage, they organize the way each state organize and divide the law is like really different. And even it's the same, like violent family law, but the way, organization chose differently. That's what we also really would like to spend more time to really understand in order to make sure that our solution and our workers can have good internal, measure the material, the material, so that's.
And the flash reading is for, I think, would be an interesting thing for us to use more often. We have a rule of thumb, no more than 5 lines in a sentence. That's a general rule of thumb. This territory uses. But we have paragraphs, what you see like blah, 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 colon, and then it's 2 paragraphs. That breaks the sentence grammatically into components. Many of those are either cumulative, like they all have to be present, or alternative. So if any one is present.
Sorry, I just have a question, but I did want to thank you first before explaining some of the client stuff to us and not to people because they don't make them understand. They think they can talk get through together. I suppose this general question is about what's the most difficult challenge, isn't it? So you mentioned the different challenges, so I'm looking at as part of these.
Was studying between parts of things that what couple or main strategy is selecting each element by parts and putting into the box and connect them. Because there's only one part of the home page that could be selected correctly. So it was very difficult for that to us. And also because it's big, we didn't learn that. And we have to do the second, which was a component definitely. And so we did 0/3 with one tool. It was 7, yeah, that's right. Then that's which one we did that time. Because we didn't see how the most documentation, so we spent like 4 days on this, but they have very big function. So on Black Friday, we actually sorry, but it's coming as hard as possible. So yeah, then we switch to Selenium, which has more function, can reveal or need to select the path for adding box. But yeah, there's something like this, just like put in the box, which kind of when you know both strategy to change the and fix some part of the existing cost. I think more core structure, not ideal. But yeah, that was the biggest challenge.
So it's probably going to be a real world problem too, because you're it's on the Western solution.
Yeah, yes, yes, we should fix this morning. The challenge everybody was next. So it's more looking at structure now. Because of this, we have to, because this part becomes actually compromise state, so our code is very long. And certainly identify couple of that because if we didn't build a function automatic analyze the state from be more universal with the compromise to the state.
The most challenging is about the, like mentioned, the MCB registration, the division title is different for others. So solo with the part number, or maybe confused to the read.
Yes, so the first question is some instruction for scribing the HTML data for the website. What did you do?
Change that to whatever. So
Choose the user agent, right?
yeah, using the, so that's actually the, we got block the first one, right? Python is not allowed. So we search on Google, searching Google says where you just changing the data to whatever, and then you put in and
Yeah. Second question is, you didn't mention you get data from division level. That's the.
because our individual is also on the same page. I think section.
Yeah, in section, the division level, not subsection.
So, in this class or this one?
It's already division.
Oh, yeah, division, it's actually in the word division. Or, because division was the same, our divisions are divisions on first page. And we can display by saying to division. And we can, the form division, we can send immediately some words and the end words and the other types.
Yes. Okay, okay.
But we did that for chapter 5 division separately. On first page.
And second question is, how do you distinguish between the definition and the references?
Oh, you mean the concept actually? I'm glad to from the giving class reference and the definition, right?
Yeah.
So actually, now the our class reference have a class. See, that's how. Our class reference have this. And definition is the same. Definition just have like slash the name of the words for illegal and for the icon. And but all the internal and separate. So we just like start to get out of it.
So internal and external references all has the same class name.
Yeah, so for what we did is one is we did that select this class and for the external steps always that is included. So we found that also includes text and select the external and for the section we just internal always have the section. The word.
How did you distinguish between the?
Yeah, for the group one, but then we realize there's also some things like section, something of another law. This we didn't realize that this probably, and then one method still, the section of another law, the section will count as internal, and then another will count as external. For the section of another law, this section will not become as an external. So just so now accurate. Without on one side, we didn't realize there's this kind of problem because, well, if this section of another law shouldn't have been. I already wired this differently. But yeah, that's a probably the common. Section of another law didn't have the section of the and the one.
And the last question is, you actually finished from task 1 to task 8, right?
Yeah, 8. So now what I was updating this one.
Yeah.
I have to check the result.
Do you have any ideas about the last task, such as?
That's the thing. I really found the unpopular cross reference because we have found a lot of reference, but for cross reference thing. So what we did is like we select all those things. Our task is this class. In minus internal, minus external, this person URL that must be uncovered, but we just don't show what our reference is. I mean, all we have reference that definition have reference different, but it's cross reference is just not normal reference. So I was wondering what task might uncover cross reference. Really being I did some also some reading on the challenge. Not very clear for this definition. Thank you very much for your presentation. I really like how you dealt with complexity. Yes, we don't know. We're all asking this question, how do you measure it? There are big reports, government reports on that, but that's a really good step forward. Thank you.
Everyone participate.
Today, before closing the session, closing the data science challenge today, we would like to invite our guests to come to give our students some encouraging words for today. Let's welcome Ewan Please.
Thanks very much, everybody. I've had about 5 minutes advance warning because I don't want me to speak to you on behalf of the charges, so I'm just making it on some go. But what I wanted to say, a couple of things. Well, it's really important what we're doing today because for a couple of reasons. You have a chance to practice your data science skills in a safe environment. That's what CBU provides. It provides you a safe environment to practice, to learn, to make mistakes. You can't. It's much more expensive to make a mistake in the real world. If you're dealing with domestic violence, traffic accidents, police reports, and things like that. Yeah. I guess I'm saying, savor this time, enjoy this time to actually do the practice because it's really important. The other thing that it does, though, is it strengthens your skills, it strengthens your analytical capability, the way you think, the way you form patterns and insights. And those things are going to be very useful to me and my colleagues and to everybody else out there, because in the real world, if you like, when it really matters, we want smart people who have some thought, diversity of thought, and they have the background to be able to have the confidence to be able to make really good decisions and to generate insights and to contribute to the broader community. So I guess at a big level, that's what these challenges are about. They're about testing you and stretching you, seeing how you can perform to your best in a safe environment. Because again, once we leave the room, we go into the real world, and these things actually, these insights, they have an impact on you. They will change the way laws are drafted. They will change the way politicians make decisions and business people make decisions as well. And you're going to be part of that as you move. On behalf of all of the judges, we do really appreciate how much work goes into this and how much anxiety there can be standing here, sharing your heart and sharing the Black Friday stories and so. Thank you from all of the judges because, as I said, we appreciate it. We were there once, maybe not doing Python, but we were there studying and working hard and learning and presenting our material as well. It's a great step forward for the team to have done it. All of the technical work, or in addition to the technical work, the effort that is required to do the presenting and the communicating and checking in with the judges to make sure that they understand your ideas. That's really important as well, because you can be the biggest brain in the world, if you can't communicate thoughts, you can't communicate your ideas. People will just think you're a big brain and they will be really wrong. Better than you can round out your skills, communication as well as the data science and coding that goes with it as well. To wrap up, again, thank you from the judges. I hope after this, there's one more challenge this afternoon. There's a challenge this afternoon. I think it's a business innovation challenge tomorrow. But then I think after that, you can all go enjoy the break, enjoy visiting with families or the wet season or whatever it is. We will see you again. Have a big next year. Thank you.
Patrick.
So I appreciate very much the opportunity to come and talk to students. Usually we're so thanks for the invite. I'm told that someone in my office suggested it, but I'd like to thank her. I do like the opportunity to meet with students and see their efforts. It's been a while since I've been in your shoes. I'm not exactly a person with computer science. The closest I ever got to Python in my life was a friend telling me how to download the shows automatically from the couch. About 10 years ago. That's what they used Python and gave me a word type. That's what all I need. I wanted to congratulate you all on the work that you did, and it was a lot of work. Before coming here, I didn't realize exactly how much work it was, but seeing your presentations made me respect the amount of effort and intelligence that you put into your task. So let me speak to each of the teams individually. And first, data experts. You made it look very easy. I think the first one's up. And gosh, this is just like 1, 2, 3, all these graphs, the tasks. Can't be that complicated. Your presentation was very sophisticated, and it probably hid how much work that you did to put into it, which became clear when we got to Team Nerd. And I wanted to congratulate you for coming up and presenting results that you did have available, and condolences on the crash. You could have taken the easy way out and said, yeah, as some other teams did. So it was very honest and brave of you to come up and share your results. And it gave me personally an insight into just how difficult the task it is and how much extra work on top of all your normal studies. And so I congratulate you for the time and diligence and effort. And Data Girls, your presentation was sophisticated in a different way from the first one, and that was it gave more insight into sort of challenges of dealing with data itself and how you addressed it, which I found interesting, and also asking us questions. Showed that you put a lot of thought into the work you were doing as opposed to just crunching numbers, getting the outputs that you were expected to. So congratulations. I'll have some things to take back to the office and share with my colleagues. We do try to make our legislation here in the NT readable, and partly that has to do with making, as I mentioned before, short sentences. So, anyway, thank you all again very much. I expect all of you.
Short. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, and Dr. Yakub. When we were designing this challenge with Dr. Yakub, we were thinking, will students be interested? Will it generate any interest? Will they come? And then we presented it to everyone as well, and he supported us. So just thank you. Thank you for supporting something. Thank you for stepping out of your comfort zone. Thank you for challenging yourself. And thank you for being here.
One of our CDU student, and he was the winner last year of Data Science Challenge, and he come here to share with us some message with our students. Please welcome here.
My name is Leo. I know some of the book. First, I will give some feedback for the team one, data expert. So I think I like the presentation, and the last task, which is you use your 4G to make a graph database, and it's very interesting, I think. But I'm not sure is that real working in the real database. Yes, maybe in the future it will explore more functions. And the team that goes, I think the logic is very clear, and you show a very good teamwork, and yeah, that's my feedback. And for my personal, I can call myself also a student in here, because last year I'm the participator, and Ivan, he's our judge. I was very nervous asking. So my suggestion is don't nervous because you guys have to do a amazing job. So just show you what you have been and what you have done. The next thing is to try to build your network and try to practice your teamwork skills. Because teamwork, but in a real workplace, you cannot do the project by yourself. You must how to communicate with others, how to separate the different tasks into different people, and how to manage all of the tasks together. So teamwork is very important in project. The last suggestion is keep learning. So because we are IT person, most of the people, the IT fields, they are open source. So that means that we need to have an open-minded attribute. So we need to keep learning and try to find some source from the website. It's up to you. For me, I prefer to read book, but then you guys may need go to watch video or tutorial or something. And try to connect with the previous lectures, the book, and carry they are very helpful. Yeah. So thank you.
For joining and being here today. This will be an end of the session today, and the result will be collected, and our judge will finalize and in the closed room, and the result will be presented on Thursday. So all participants will come and see the result. Yeah.
Tuesday, right?
Yeah, it's Tuesday in Doubletree Hilton.